critics for their thoughts on the Democrats. And at one point, David, Joe Biden looked at the field and said, this is a stage full of winners. What did you think of the Democratic field?
Impressive field, actually. I think the Democrats and the Republicans have a lot of good candidates. I think in the course of the race right now is that Obama has tremendous momentum. I meet people, you see it in the polls, just tremendous enthusiasm for Obama. He's rising. A lot of more people, as they get to know him, are becoming more comfortable with him. And I really think he's climbing right up on Clinton and is virtually at the point where he's the front runner.
What do you make of the encounter last night? Is there a risk in appearing with lesser mortals frequently this early?
Yeah, it doesn't help, but I don't think it hurt. I mean, they're not particularly argumentative with each other. They were argumentative with President Bush. He wasn't sticking around. John Dickerson of Slate made an interesting point that among the three frontrunners, there really is not an incentive to be argumentative with each other. Obama's whole theme is that he's a non-confrontational person. He rises above politics. John Edwards ran 4 years ago vowing never to criticize, and I think that's somewhat in his nature. Hillary Clinton can't criticize because the Clintons are thought of as too mean, and if she does it, that feeds into that. So they each have an incentive not to be confrontational with each other, and this debate was certainly not a rivalry between them.
Does that end at some point, Mark? Do the gloves have to come off with each other, especially if the field remains large?
Yeah, even if it doesn't. The biggest problem in a big field, if the three of us are running and I attack you, David's the beneficiary. The only time really attack politics works well is when there's two people in the contest. So it's not only not smart at this point, it's very dangerous. What hit me last night watching it was, yes, Obama, yes, Clinton, yes, Edwards is the front runners with most of the press attention. But you look at Chris Dodd, senator from Connecticut, extremely able and respected legislator. Bill Richardson, you know, a multifaceted public servant in his career, and Joe Biden. I mean, I just thought, you know, these in other years would be front rank and front burner candidates. I thought Biden gave the best answer of the night. It was reminiscent of the second debate in 1984 when Ronald Reagan had ended the previous debate with a rambling soliloquy about walking down the Pacific Coast Highway, and the Wall Street Journal did a front page piece about was he losing it. And the first question was about his age, and he said, I'm not going to hold my opponent's, Walter Mondale's youth and inexperience against him. And it just put the quietus on it. Joe Biden, you know, did a wonderful rebuttal to the charge that he just is a motor mouth last night. I thought Bill Richardson gave the most honest answer when they asked him why he hadn't gone after Alberto Gonzalez.
And remind people what that answer was.
The answer was yes. Yes, it's because I know where he comes from. We're both Hispanic, but I know where he comes from. I know what he's been through. I know who he is. And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was an incredibly human and revealing answer.
But one that does him a lot of good?
I think so. You know, yeah, even this year, you know, we're 9 months away from the first primary vote, let alone, I don't know, 9 years away from the general election, whatever it is. And right now, the campaigns are in their full mode. They're binging each other every day. They're trading shots. The candidates are sleeping 4 hours a night. This is going to take a toll. There are going to be crashes on this road. Yeah, and people like Bill Richardson, who happens to be the most experienced candidate in the race, or Joe Biden, who actually has an intelligent plan for a post-Iraq world, those people will rise. They will have their moment in the sun. Those Democrats will rise. I think on the Republican side, Newt Gingrich will rise. So there's a lot of fluidity in those mid-level candidates. One of them will be up there. Where was Howard Dean at this point 4 years ago?
Good point. And the other thing I thought last night, I mean, Senator Clinton is incredibly confident, incredibly competent, and has great possession of facts, and had the ability on virtually every question to turn it toward her own message. But I was reminded of what Mario Cuomo said 25 years ago, I guess now. He said, we campaign in poetry, we govern in prose. And there's very little poetry in her presentation. And there's a lot of poetry in Obama. And it's just interesting. I mean, it was poetry, a lot of poetry in Ronald Reagan. There was poetry in Jack Kennedy. There was poetry in Franklin Roosevelt. There's not much poetry in George W. Bush.
And Obama has this upside. He is the only person, I think, running for president this year who has the potential to transform American politics.
Yeah, I agree.
If all the others, they could win or lose, but politics will look basically the same. But he actually could realign politics.
Well, also this week,
We thought John McCain had that possibility,
He
too.
may still.
Yeah.
He may
Well, John, I was about to bring
I'm
up
sorry.
John
Excuse me,
McCain
okay.
because he officially declared what everyone knew, that he was in the race this week, but in doing so, tried to separate himself from the still in office Bush administration, to which periodically in the last 6 years he's been very close.
Let's be very blunt. Every one of them has separated himself from the incompetence of this administration. You listen to Mitt Romney. You listen to Rudy Giuliani. You listen to Jim Gilmore. You listen to any of them. You know, I've run things, and they always want to talk about their record. John McCain was a declaration of independence, I thought, in his, because he has been identified very much with the surge and is the most visible and vocal African. He's been the most relentless critic among those supporters of the war, too, calling John Rumsfeld the worst Secretary of Defense in history, saying that Dick Cheney had given the president terrible advice and the president shouldn't have listened to him, and arguing about the tactics. People who like John McCain because he's a maverick in 2000, including me, I disagree with John McCain on the war. I think he's wrong. But he is a maverick. I mean, whatever position he's taken has not been run through a focus group. It's not because it's a popular thing. His maverick credentials, if anything, are burnished in 2008 over where they were in 2000. It's a tougher job now to stand up there, I think, and defend that policy.
Yeah, I was glad to see finally John McCain coming out, so to speak, because he had sort of restrained. The weird thing is happening with the party is that they have 3 candidates who are not Orthodox Republicans in Romney, Giuliani, and McCain, but they were pretending to be in an attempt to please the base. They were trying to be George Allen. And finally they said, hey, I'm going to be, at least McCain said this, I'm going to be who I am.
That's right.
And so I think, A, it's an authentic move, and I think it's a good move. The country wants change. They don't want a Bush light, so he might as well be different.